People often say it's too late to start, but what are you late for? Age is an interesting one, isn't it, really? Because everybody kind of has their own expectation for what they should be doing by a certain age. I think it probably stems from social expectation. Oh, you have to have this thing figured out by the time you leave school, or by the time you finish college or finish university. Seen as this kind of barrier. Then there's also the flip side of it, which is like, oh, I'm way too old now. I'm not the young whippersnapper I once was. Well, I think that's a complete load of bollocks. There are so many unwritten rules around age. I don't understand. You're too young to do this. You're too old to do this. Like, who made you the boss, do you know what I mean? These aren't actual hard, fast rules. Like, no one makes these rules. But I don't know if it's just where I grew up, or maybe it's just an England thing, but it's kind of just there. It's just embedded in the culture. And it's annoying. Like, it's kind of something that's always held me back. When I was a lot younger, I was willing to try things, experiment with things, and back then, a passion was just a passion. It was what I loved doing, and it didn't need to be any more than that. There was no thought process that went into me picking up a guitar and playing it, or writing some music or something like that. It was done. It was a no-brainer in my head back then. And as you grow older, all of a sudden there's this stigma around doing things like that, doing things that back then nobody thought twice about you doing, if that makes sense. Why is age such a concern for people? Why does it matter? And what does it mean to be too late? Like, how old is too late? I don't even know if it exists. I don't even know if there is an age that is too late, especially if we're talking about doing things that you love doing. I couldn't imagine any point in my life where I wouldn't be playing music or writing music. And age isn't really a factor at all within that, because if I didn't play or I didn't do the things that I love doing, then what's the fucking point? Like, I wouldn't even be being myself at that point. I think it goes without saying that with age comes responsibilities. No one's denying that fact, and life's a complex thing, and you'll go through ups and downs in it. And as you grow, your responsibilities will grow with you. And I fully sympathise, I 100% get that. I've got responsibilities of my own. But people forget about the responsibility that they have to themselves. It's interesting that the responsibility to other people is so high on our priority list, but the responsibility to ourselves kind of falls to the wayside because of that. Because at the end of the day, is it not your responsibility to make you happy, or do the things that you want to do with your life? I heard something really interesting once. I'm not sure who quoted it, but it was, treat yourself like you are someone you're responsible for helping. Because at the end of the day, that's how you treat everybody else. But most people seem to forget to treat themselves that way. If you think that you're too old to pick something up or start learning something new, you are wrong. I think that growth happens at any age, provided that you're willing to grow. I don't like the argument that you're too old to learn. I feel like anyone can learn. Obviously, people learn at different rates. You know, I'm approaching 30 now, and I still feel the urge to learn new things, learn new skills. And I think the trick to it is keeping hold of that hunger to learn. Be willing to accept that you are shit at something, but that you can improve. A good friend of mine once told me, every day is a school day. And that piece of advice has always stuck with me, and I've applied it to everything in life. The real challenge is kind of realizing that age isn't actually the problem, it's mindset. For the longest time period in my life, I didn't even know mindset existed. I just lived. I just did things. I didn't put much thought into doing what I was doing. I was just living. And there's a beauty in that. But a few years ago, I got interested in personal development. When you take a step back and you actually look at yourself from a different perspective, you realise, hang on a minute, I am quite pessimistic about things. Maybe I don't believe I can do these things, or maybe I do have some limiting beliefs. The biggest unlock for me was 100% having that word with myself and saying, look, we need to be a bit more open, especially if your mindset doesn't serve you. Because if you do believe, it's too late to start, how is that serving you in any way? How is that going to move you forward? Because there's a part of you that's yearning. If you're watching this video, there's a part of you inside that wants to challenge yourself, wants to start something. And it all starts with mindset. It's the hardest thing in the world, but you actually need to start believing in yourself. There was one takeaway that I had that kind of changed my view on most things. Instead of looking at something, we can't do this, or I can't do this, or this is not possible, you have to approach things with a how mindset. How can we do this? How is it possible that I can achieve this? Because as soon as you introduce how into the equation, it changes everything. As soon as you stop saying it can't be done and you start saying how can it be done, life will be a lot more optimistic. You just have to be open to change. You have to be open to accepting the fact that maybe I don't know everything, maybe I haven't tried everything, maybe there are other ways to go about this, and maybe you're not too late. Like, what does too late even mean? What are you late for? I've passed this certain point in my life where I had more freedom, so now I'm not going to try and achieve things that I want to achieve in my life simply because I've passed that point in time. It just doesn't make sense in my head. Instead, I would approach it saying, okay, I accept the past as what it is. How can I move forward in my life whilst aiming at something? I feel like it's just a much more optimistic approach. Just change the conversation in your own head. And as soon as you start asking yourself how or why is another good one, just in case you're wondering on more. Once you start asking these questions to yourself, things will crop up. You'll be able to say, right, okay, well, the reason why I don't really want to start this new thing and start learning is because my friends might take the piss out of me, or my family might look down on me, or I'm scared to be embarrassed in public. There's so many different reasons. But then once you start asking the right questions and these reasons crop up, get them written down, write them down on a piece of paper or something, and then you tackle those with how, why, what can I do about this? One of the ones that I used to think a lot was, what if I fail? What if I start something and then try it and then deal with all the judgment from my friends and my family and all that, and then it doesn't work out? And I've been there so many times. And I mean, the obvious answer is that at least you can say you tried and you can live without regret. But I almost don't like that argument, because that assumes that if you fail, you're going to stop. The way I see it is, you're going to fail. It's an important part of the process. You're going to fail. You're going to be embarrassed. You're going to have to be in front of people and say, that thing that I was starting doing didn't work out. It's the lessons that you learn from that failure that will help you on the next go round. And the other thing is, who decides if I failed or not? Do you know what I mean? Like, okay, after 1 year of time, I've not hit X amount of followers, or I've not become a super sensation rock star artist or whatever. Who decides that that is a failure? There's just so many different rules that have been placed upon us in a social context. It's all based on the judgment of others. Like, at the end of the day, the only person whose judgment matters is your own. As long as you can wake up in the morning and say, do you know what, I proper tried today, I gave it my all, and I'm working towards my goal, that's a day well spent. Like, why does succeeding and failing have to be so black and white? If I get up and start writing a song and I write an insane riff and it's going to be class and I'll actually use it, that is a win. I have succeeded. Once you open yourself to new possibilities and you accept that things can be different, then things will start to be different. So I don't really think it is too late to start. I don't think there is such a thing as too late. No one's going to do it for you, so you might as well give it all you've got and do it for yourself. By no means am I the fountain of all wisdom. I'm still working it out as we go. I don't have all the answers, but what I do know is that I'm a lot further on than I was, and I feel like it's only right for me to share what's helped me do that. So I'll end by sharing one of my favourite quotes. It's a Chinese proverb that says, "The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time to plant one is now."